Yeah. Wait here, so we get pictures. Okay. Do you guys all listen to podcasts by chance?
Yes.
Do you like horror movies? Okay, well, I can do a really quick pitch. The guy that
You
just
have
got
2 minutes.
2 minutes. I don't even need that. 20 seconds. The guy that just, Eric, and I do a show called Spooky Dudes Podcast.
I've heard it.
Really?
Yes.
You've listened to it?
Yes.
What'd you think?
Enjoy it.
Do you like it better when we like the movie or don't like the movie?
Look at the memory when you turn into disputes over it.
Right? I got a lot of positive feedback on our hatred for the newest Critters films. So, but I don't want a podcast where we just trash a movie every week.
Sure.
That's not
And
fun.
that's good.
So,
There's way too many that are just, feels like it's very trendy.
There are.
Besides the movie that you keep bringing up that was supposed to be the Incredibles of horror.
oh, Death House?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's awful.
Yeah,
It's,
we're-
We're avoiding that one. Just,
I can't recommend that.
It's a joke now, once you're here on the show, we just have to take a shot, and we save it quite a bit.
I see 3 from Hell on here. That's interesting. What do you guys think about it? Yeah.
He didn't see it.
I can see why.
We don't even watch PG-13 though.
You're willing to stream them all together.
One day.
Yeah, we're gonna, one day, on your 6th birthday, all the Rob Zombie movies back to back. See how that goes at school.
So, it's funny you say that, and we're going to start in just a minute. Actually, I'll introduce and then I'll tell you guys the story. I'm Erin McGurn. I'm the director of the media track, so thanks for coming to our panels, because if you guys don't come, this track doesn't exist. I'm also a podcast co-host. I also co-own a small event business with Suzanne here.
We're a big event business.
You know, small as in we host small events.
We're small event business.
They are small, intimate events.
Yes, it is small.
Well, the story I was going to tell is my very first memory is of a horror movie.
Really?
My absolutely first memory. My parents, when I was growing up, ran rehabilitation centers. And so we lived in Brooklyn, New York, and my brother is taking probably 2-3-year-old me to my mom's office. And we walked past what is the guys' workout area, because these are all guys who are getting off of drugs and alcohol and all of that stuff, and they need somewhere to go get that energy out. But they had in that room a TV about the size of that back wall, which I, to this day, cannot figure out like how they got it into that building or what kind of crane moved that TV, because this is also the early 90s, so that thing probably weighed a ton. But on that screen is Freddy killing somebody. And I let go of my brother's hand, and I stopped and I stood there and I watched it. And my mom came by, and I still remember her yelling at the guys because they all saw me there watching this movie and just kept going about their business. But so my love of horror movies is my first memory.
A little traumatic.
Nah, it just explains a lot.
I had an early one. I don't remember the first because I kind of grew up around Universal stuff. Like my dad was real into, Bela Lugosi and Boris Karloff and all that, so still is. But I remember sneaking out. We went to see Honey, I Shrunk the Kids or Blew Up the Kids, one of the Rick Moranis movies. And Jason Takes Manhattan was playing at the same time. So dude's mom and dad went to the bathroom and just entrusted like 5 of us kids to stand there and be good. So we're like, Jason, I heard about that. Snuck in there and saw the boxer guy up on the roof. And Jason was like, boom! And I'm like, that's pretty good. And then we got busted and got ran out. But it was during my formative years, so.
Well, should we start the panel?
Yeah, but you guys gotta finish introducing
Oh,
I'm not introducing all
I'm
of you.
Suzanne, and I am co-chair of Monsterama, so. And then I own a big, small event business.
It's multi-layer.
It is
There
a
you go.
multi-layer with Erin. And then then one half of our podcast season in review where we focus on just one season of one television show.
That leaves you guys.
I'm Corey Keelan, one half of the Spooky Dudes, and that's my main thing right now, is podcasting. This is my son Bear, he's 5.
Hey.
Yeah, he loves Halloween, and we do not let him watch R-rated movies, I said before, so his horror knowledge is super slim, but
Not until he turns 6, right?
you're like 6, get him in there. But he likes all that.
He's just making sure that he's like,
They mess with my podcasting setup all the time, him and his 2-year-old sister, so,
so they know what it is.
oh yeah.
I'm the other spooky dude, Eric, podcaster, photographer. That's about it for me.
Okay,
Like, share, and subscribe, Spooky Dudes.
there you go. And you guys are gonna have a table outside? Do they have a table? Oh, then never mind.
We will be roaming.
Oh, well then catch them down and talk to them about
Roaming,
the podcast.
socializing, and I'll probably take your picture.
So this panel got changed a little bit along the way. Originally, it was supposed to be a panel with the Georgia Reptile Society, and they were going to be bringing in their reptiles, and so it was going to look at Nava's face.
I'm in the wrong room. I was like, I thought this was women at Monsters and.
Yeah.
It is.
Oh, so originally it was going to be the literal monsters and the women who love them.
So now they're coming in at 4 o'clock.
Yes, so you'll be able to see them still, they just won't be on the panel. But we instead are going to talk about the monsters we expect and the women who love them. This is,
Sorry.
this is an open conversation. It is not just going to be us talking at you guys, so that'll happen a lot. But you are welcome to interject. If we aren't talking about a monster and a woman who loved said monster or said monster was obsessed with, and you want us to talk about it, bring it up. It's that easy. I'm going to start off with probably what I think of as the most iconic, which is King Kong. King Kong and Creature from the Black Lagoon are the two for me that are the basis for what the rest of them should be. King Kong has kept that through all of its remakes, and it has done a fairly decent job of it. It has never come off as like the vampires and things like that where it's creepy. To me, it has always just been, oh, he's just trying to protect her. Like,
There's an innocence.
yes. It's like, stop shooting her. He's just trying to keep her safe.
Stop shooting her.
This one right here.
Yeah.
Just to be clear.
Watch the movie because
I
that's
know.
what he does. He goes like this and he's like, stop. Stop.
It's a, look who I have, stop shooting.
Oh, okay. I go the opposite way.
I know.
Did you notice the white girl?
So what is our favorite version of King Kong?
Oh.
Because they're all different, I mean,
Yeah, they are.
So I'm gonna go real controversial with this.
so,
And there's 2 reasons behind it, and one of them is Tom Hiddleston, which is just answer enough. But that's Skull Island. I loved Skull Island. I mean, it got ragged on something terrible, but I loved the idea of seeing the young Kong. And it was still a lot of the interaction with the humans that you would expect. We got to know a little bit more of his history, and we still got that natural human interaction with him on both sides. On the, we want to befriend and understand, and oh no, we're terrified, we're going to kill you. So and it was all wrapped up in one place. Like, they didn't have to take him anywhere.
Yeah.
He didn't have to go to New York and destroy anything. Like, it was all nice and contained.
You didn't have to die at the end?
No, he didn't, which I was happy about.
Transporting monsters from one continent to another is always problematic in any movie. I won't go too far down that side path, but I did appreciate that they stayed on the island. I like that movie a lot, but I felt like it kind of ticked off the action movie boxes in my head, and I wasn't sure if I was just being like, yeah, Predator, yeah, Commando, or if it's actually a well-developed movie, because I've only actually seen that one once. So.
It hints at a well-developed movie. A lot of, and it's part of what Skull Island got ragged on, is its build-up.
It's a
A
good
lot of build-up.
It is build-up for the Godzilla universe and the Kaiju universe, and I don't know when we're gonna get back to it.
Next year, supposedly.
Supposedly is the key word there.
Granted, you do see King Kong a lot more in his film than you did Godzilla in the first.
Yes.
I'd say that's more built up. His Godzilla for 5 minutes.
So,
Yeah, that was true.
I'm gonna pose a question, what's your favorite movie, because yours is King Kong, your favorite movie from a monster who is obsessed over a woman?
Lon Chaney, Phantom of the Opera.
Yeah, that's mine.
The silent one. It's so moody and atmospheric, and they don't need dialogue.
No.
It's fantastic.
But my grandmother was a child when it came out, and she remembers going to the movies to see it. And she was in the back and remembers, had a clear memory of the mask being ripped off. And she said it was, in her strong French accent, it was so funny because all the women were. She says they all fainted. She's like, it was fabulous. Yes.
awesome.
Yeah, she said, I remember being a child and seeing it.
It's weird when you talk about older films like Night of the Living Dead and stuff like that, and like you watch it now and it's, you know, like when he watches that, it's not going to be shocking.
Yeah.
But you got to put yourself in 1968 when it actually happened and it was new. It's hard to imagine. So when they do the reveal of the Phantom, I can't see it that way. I try to picture it that way. I've just loved that movie since I think I saw it when I was a teenager, and my dad had bought it from some VHS company that. Hey, buddy.
He's got strong things on this.
But just watching it, I was kind of blown away. I was like, oh, it's silent, it's going to be boring. It's Lon Chaney, there's nothing boring about it.
I was going to say nothing he's did was boring.
It's amazing.
Eric, what's yours?
It's going to be Bride of Frankenstein.
Yeah.
Being a monster per se. It's one of those holidays that I always go to, especially when you get to the spooky season. I just watch it.
That's a real interesting one for the fact that both of them are the monsters. Yeah. What about you?
Creature. I just don't know.
That's my second.
Yeah, I just like how he's just kind of constantly after her, but you don't know his motivation.
Yeah.
Is it a Phantom of the Opera motivation?
Or is it a Kong motivation?
Or is it a Kong motivation? Is he protecting her? That's the only thing that I never understood is that.
So we recently, as part of our event company, hosted a 1950s movie night, and that was one of the movies that we showed. And it was really interesting, because you and I had had this conversation prior to that. And because we're running the event, we didn't sit there and watch the entire movie, but we would peek in from time to time and watch some of it, and it was interesting looking at it, trying to figure out, like, trying to see the different angles of, is he just manically obsessed with her, or is he in some way trying to protect her from the other people? And so it's interesting with those ideas in mind to go back and watch some of the older ones.
I can't remember the name of the podcast, but they always focus on background characters in movies. They try to picture the entire story from a background character's perspective. So I try to watch, not the first time I watch a movie, I just watch it. But like going back on a movie I watched 10 times or something, I try to focus on a background character. It creates kind of an interesting,
I like that.
counterpoint to the story. The one scene that sticks out in my mind from that movie, though, Creature, is where she's swimming and he's swimming. And we've got this, I mean, it's beautiful. Like, I can't remember what year that movie came out, but,
Oh,
Black and white.
55.
yeah,
so, I mean,
it was early 50s.
it's like a visionary filmmaking technique,
Yes.
you know. It's so simple, but it's super effective to show his kind of affection and adoration for this girl. I love that movie. I can't remember much about the sequels, but that one especially.
That's
Funny,
the
the
best.
sequel is actually gonna be today.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, Revenge of the Creature in 3D. We have
nice.
the 3D glasses. Yeah,
And it's on 16.
it's on 16
Yep.
millimeter.
Yes.
Would you ladies comment on the Shape of Water?
I was just thinking.
Have you seen it? Oh, gosh.
I haven't either.
It's
I
beautiful.
don't, I haven't seen it yet.
Oh, it's amazing.
I heard it is. That's why it's.
It is the modern take, even though the movie is set in a post-era time, it is the modern take on what Creature wanted to, or what someone wanted Creature to be. So they find the creature from the Black Lagoon and manage to capture it. And it is all about his interactions with a cleaning lady at the facility he's being held with.
She's mute, isn't she?
Yes. Which is another amazing thing.
To be fair, so is he.
Yes.
He is.
But it's also a throwback to some of the silent horror movies, is that our two main characters don't ever really speak. And I loved that touch. There was one scene, I went and saw this with Richard, one scene where I closed my eyes and buried my head behind him because I could not watch the finger scene.
Oh, yeah.
The Rose body horror is the one, is like the worst. Which one?
The finger scene.
Oh,
Yeah.
I know. So Rose body horror, like he's the one who makes you
Yeah.
act like a child. Like, oh no, I can't.
And that's exactly what I did, is I would, oh God, no.
Oh, yeah.
And then listening to the sounds of it was worse.
Sound is very effective.
Yes.
It is.
And it was a beautiful movie, and it deserved the credit that it got.
And it's not depressing, which
No.
most of the monster obsessed with women, they're normally depressing movies.
Yeah.
It usually never ends well for the monster.
Well, and never mind, I'm not gonna say it for the people who haven't seen it, because that shouldn't be messed with.
Wasn't it supposed to be a Creature reboot for the Dark Universe before they
Yeah.
eroded
Yeah.
that?
Yes, and before Del Toro got his hands on it.
Okay.
Dark Universe is supposed to be coming back.
They're coming back, they just finished wrapping Invisible Man.
Which I don't know.
I don't know how I feel.
But they're supposed to do a movie with Paul Feig
Well,
that
and
just,
they signed Angelina Jolie for the Bride of Frankenstein. And I don't know how I feel about that.
As the bride?
As the
As
bride.
the bride.
She's done good work, you know.
I do, I know.
She does good
Sometimes.
makeup effect roles, if that makes sense. Like Maleficent, she was a
Yeah.
good Maleficent.
Yeah, well, if you can take her back to her roots, I mean, she was a fantastic actress
Yes.
in the late 90s.
And then it
Girl in
went
Jail.
crazy.
It's just how do they change his
Oh
story
my
to look more
God.
bright?
Yeah. But this is opening up. We had this panel last year about the Dark Universe, and we'll have it again after Invisible Man comes out. Because that's a whole other panel. And we will get caught
So-
down that road.
I mean, most of the movies, to me,
Mhm.
like in the 50s and the 60s, are all monsters and women.
Mhm. And one guy.
And a dude.
And then sidekicks. Like there's always a structure to these.
As always, the dude was the hero, is trying to save
Yep.
him, who you think is the damsel in distress, but it's actually not.
what it just, I mean, I don't want to get us out of the timeline too much, but it evolved from that into the slasher
But
genre.
that's fine, you're actually in the right programming track.
Yes.
Okay.
Keep going.
You're in the right programming track for that.
You know, you got Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which is one of my top 3 films of all time, you know, and then we've got all kinds of Friday the 13th, Halloween.
I was gonna say Halloween is still the
Yes.
perfect example of a monster and the woman.
Yeah.
It really is, because at the core, it's him and Lori.
So do you think they started off with, just because the classic horror has the monster and the women, that they just continued that same pattern?
And they tried to alter it a little bit. Hmm?
Just that, yeah, like, if we get into the slasher film, it's just got a different vibe than the traditional monster. That's all right.
What's the vibe for the new
No,
to
no,
the
you
classic,
said
you think?
before. Yeah, I'll check
So
the
we're talking about, I mean, the slashers is more like, they're all teen girls, the slashers really are interested in the girls, they're just killing them because they're impure or whatever, you know.
I mean,
The slasher introduced the final girl scenario. So now the female is now gonna be trained as devil in distress, but ends up becoming the anti-hero.
And I don't know why that happened. Like, part of me says it's like a misogyny thing, like, that we're just gonna feel more sympathy for the character if she's female.
I think John Carpenter actually had a lot of respect for women. I think that
Yeah.
initially it started off that way, but then through reinterpretation,
Yeah.
it became skewed
Yeah.
toward misogyny and judgments, toward the feminine side.
So I think Cabin in the Woods, which is one of my, that's probably one of my top 10 movies. I love that movie.
It's a great movie.
But they clearly point out at one point that there is the stereotype. And your final girl is the pure, virginal one. And then you have the slut, who in that movie, the girl who turned into the slut was a straight A med student. And then you have the jock and the smart guy and the stoner. And
they're all friends?
yes,
Oh.
but in Cabin in the
Before
Woods,
they get to the cabin, they're not those roles.
Yes.
Except for the
And
stoner.
they morphed into stereotypes.
yeah, that's how Cabin in the Woods did it, is drug-induced stuff.
Fun.
But that was calling out that stereotype of, this is what we've gotten stuck into, even though that's not who these people are, or that's not who these people have to be.
Well, so what are the first slasher movies? Peeping Tom, Psycho, Black Christmas?
Black Christmas is considered the first, Halloween is the one that's considered the codifier. They're all good.
How about Blood and Black Lace? Mario Bava, he was there before everybody
Oh
else.
my gosh, that is such a good movie. Such a good movie.
There's a lot of that Italian giallo, which is like slasher and thriller, I guess. They kind of lump a couple genres in there together, right?
I always throw Tourist Trap in as one of the first slashers. It's the same category.
Definitely threw some camp in there. But like Black Christmas, you can watch that under 2 different, like it's very misogynistic in a way, and then it's very also like, there's a couple female characters that are very powerful in it, but then there's also the words that this guy's using when he's talking to him on the phone, it's very derogatory and, you know.
So
I love that movie.
I am one of the people that I will go see a movie and it is how I see it. I don't care how the director intended for it to come across. I don't care how the writer intended for it to come across. Because if I don't get that when I see it the first time, then what does that matter? So if I can go see slasher movies and horror movies and all that stuff, and I'm going at it as a young woman, and I can look at these movies and still enjoy them, whether the writers or directors or producers were misogynistic or not, I don't care, because that's not how I see it.
Yeah, because once they release it, it's your movie.
Yeah.
It's our movie. It's our interpretation.
Yeah, for the author.
Exactly.
The Slumber Party Master was written and directed by women.
Exactly.
I love that movie.
That's a great movie, yeah.
And there's a lot of it that people don't, and that's it too, is we were doing a panel yesterday, and it's like one of my favorite movies, and somebody was like, who was the director of that? And I was like, I don't know, I don't care.
Well, that can bog you down. I mean, ultimately, it's not that important unless you just really want to hunt down.
Other stuff they've done.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which I nerd out, so I do that. But
I do that with actors more than I do that with writers or directors.
another shameless plug, we actually did Slumber Party Massacre on Spooky Nights.